Yo, what's up? It's your boy Ernie Reyes Jr. and you're watching Taboo's Comics and Kicks.
Hola amigos, welcome to another exciting episode of Taboo's Comics and Kicks. Ooh, shit. Today's one of those shows where you look back and you say, man, I've met some people. I've done some things. My guest is one of my favorite people because I know that his career has continued to stand the test of time, going from an actor, going from a stuntman to just, a man in MMA. This dude is probably, along with my brother Dante Bosco, along with Joe Coy, along with Tia Carrera, Lou Diamond Phillips, and my brother Appity App, one of the illest Filipinos to ever put it down in Hollywood. Did you hear what I just said? One of the illest Filipinos to ever put it down in Hollywood. And he's been doing this since he was a kid. I mean, we can go back to Red Sonja. We could go back to The Last Dragon. We could talk about Ninja Turtles, Sidekicks, and one of my favorite joints that he's probably gonna laugh at. But this dude went to battle in a commercial against Rocket from Colors. The person that I'm talking about is Don Cheadle. And we'll talk about that commercial.
Damn.
Ladies and gentlemen, I took Brian's question. Ladies and gentlemen, my brother from another, the great, the iconic, the legendary, Ernie Reyes Jr.
Hey.
Appreciate you.
Did you catch the damn reference when Kevin Hart was interviewing Don Cheadle? And he was like, how old are you? He's like 54. And Kevin was like, damn.
Yo, no, but this dude was a kid. And I remember that commercial, bro. It was like a after school special commercial, something like that, right?
Yeah, well, it was actually called The Last Electric Night. It was a Disney Sunday night movie, and it was the pilot for Sidekicks. Mm-hmm. And it was actually Don Cheadle's first acting role ever.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's dope,
I
bro.
remember him talking to my dad and I when we were on set, and he, had done some theater productions and things like that, but that was his first actual television role. Yeah, pretty wild.
So Ernie's been a good friend of mine for many years. We've texted, we've been in touch many years, but we have not sat down to do an interview. So for me, this is a first, not a last. It's a reconnection with my good friend. I've seen the growth of as him, a professional, as a person connected to a lot of people that I'm, appreciating and loving, like, for example, Nate Diaz and the Diaz brothers. The MMA world. But I want to jump into this real quick. So the way that our show works is we pull out items out of the Taboo toy box right here, and you will get an item, describe it, think of a time period as a kid that it makes you think of, were you connected to it in any way, or a cool story about the items that I give you.
Okay.
All right, so there's 4 items, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start real quick.
All right.
What does that make you feel when you see Biggie?
This just reminds me of like that time period of going from like a young kid to like trying to find my way. Hip hop was such a huge part of my growing up experience. It was impactful in a way that like hip hop gave me that kind of rebellious spirit to be able to know that I could do something that everybody else was saying that you couldn't do, and I'm appreciative of that because it's kind of in my DNA, not so much necessarily just the music, but the feeling that it gave me, the empowerment that hip hop gave me to do things that were seemingly impossible or that society said that you couldn't do. And this is just, that's just amazing time period.
5 favorite MCs since you have Biggie Smalls there.
Damn. Going back to like the old school classics. Like classics.
Yep.
I start off with like Slick Rick.
Hey.
Okay.
Beautiful.
That was like,
beautiful.
That feeling,
yes.
that feeling that he gave me was like
agreed,
unmatched,
His flow is still so unique.
Just storytelling,
amazing.
flow,
storytelling.
charisma. visual with the eye patch, the swag,
all the chains,
all that.
But it was the sensation and the feeling. Like it gave me a certain feeling at that specific time period.
Yeah, no doubt.
Where it was like, oh, we're on some different shit now. You
Children's
know what I'm
Story
saying?
was
I mean, it was
frequency.
just crazy. Like those are like core memories that like the smells, the sensations, the Black Market back in the day, like those were just, you know, high school like time period. So Slick Rick from like the old school joints. Moving forward, I'd have to say, let's see, Rakim,
classic.
you know,
The
again,
OG god.
OG.
Yeah.
And moving forward from that time period, I'd have to say Pac for sure.
I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pac is like that really set me off. Again, it was always about for me, you know, kind of doing what seemed impossible. And it took a certain kind of rebellious spirit to do that. You have to kind of buck the system.
Yeah.
If you're trying to be on TV at a time period when nobody looks like you, what gives you the idea that you think you can do it when there's nobody around that's doing it,
Yeah.
you know? And so the music played a big part of that. And Pac definitely in the mid 90s, like he was the one that I was really like.
My producer Brian is a big Pac fan, and I just saw a dope old school clip of Tupac and X-Clan. They were talking to students, and it was dope to see Professor X, one of the X-Clan members, talking and delivering the message about, you know, being proud of Afrocentricity. Is that the word? Afrocentricity? Centricity. Thank you, sir. Afrocentricity.
That's Mateo. He's the one that went to college.
Afrocentricity. Say it.
Afrocentricity.
Centricity. There it is. Afrocentricity. Thanks, Teo. Now we're going to have fun editing that one.
I think just leave it as it is.
Bro.
Yeah.
So Professor X is talking about that and what it's like to be advocating for community. And then he's like, Pac, why don't you talk to them? And Pac is dressed like straight up militant, not thug life Pac. Like beads and just straight up like X-Clan vibe. And I saw a different side, which I really loved because it was the Black Panther side. There were so many sides to Pac.
For sure.
That he was like, okay, I'm here now. But the bottom line is he came from the Black Panther legacy.
That's right.
Which I always really like. Beyond anything, beyond his genius and his talent, it was so intrinsic to the cause and the movement. And so I honestly felt a different connection for Pac when I saw that. Because we always have this thing. He loves Pac. I like Pac. But yet watching this video made me love Pac.
Right.
Not for the music.
Welcome aboard, Tab.
Not for the acting, but what he was saying, the message. And I was like, wow, that's prolific.
I'll tell you this. I think that's why I love Pac too, to kind of add on to that. It's because I've watched all his interviews. And
You saw that one though? With X-Clan?
I've seen them all.
Yeah.
Everything. And I've watched them all probably 100 times because I'm so enamored with how smart he was.
He was very intelligent, for sure.
People forget he died at 25. So a lot of what you see is like 19 to 23, 24, because he was in prison for a while there, that 10 months he was in jail. And so you got to think, like, he's talking this way as a really young person.
Kid, yeah.
And
like
you
a
could
college
see
student, kind of.
Yeah. And you're like, what the fuck? And then you can see where that plays into his music, of the storytelling in his music, and why, because I love Biggie too, and I love Rakim, and I love all these other, but I was just always enamored with how Pac could kind of go any direction. He could give you some thug shit. He could talk about Dear Mama, and it didn't feel corny.
Or he could be rocking with Digital Underground and do what you like, same song. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And it was like, I grew up, you know, in a certain time period too. I share the same birthday, January 15th, as Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
So that was always kind of like on my mind, you know, being Filipino at a time period where there wasn't a lot of Filipinos when you went to school. So that always played a part. So that I connected with him on that level too. So it was about a movement, you know.
Did you ever meet him?
I've been around like out and about here in LA, but never really had a chance to like sit down with him or chop it up or
Any
whatever.
of your heroes that you've currently mentioned, Rakim or
Slick Rick.
Slick Rick, did you get to meet them yet?
No. Yeah.
All right, so that's
So
three.
that's 3. So then moving on from that time period, that was like a heavy kind of loss or whatever for me. It was like, cause I was my guy, now I'm like, okay, where am I going from this? It's hard cause I love Nas too.
Yeah, Nas.
So Nas was
Illmatic.
like, the Illmatic was just like, that
Classic.
I really was rocking with Nas heavy, probably prior to Pac, right? Like, and then Pac kind of won me over.
Yeah.
But Nas was, that Illmatic album was
Classic.
that was the one for me.
Yep.
And then it got to like after the Pac era, because there was also, there was a lot of anger channeled in the music that resonated with me. Right. And it's part of it is just like when you choose pathways where there's going to be all these known obstacles, you can become, it can become, if you've been doing something for 20, 30 years and you still are running into the same kind of obstacles, it can become, you can become angry at the system, basically. So I kind of resonated with that part of it. But as time was going on, I was kind of trying to let go of that sensation. I was like, I'm not trying to be angry, at the world. But I understood it. And then and then Jay-Z kind of took from that time period, I'd say like mid 90s, late 90s, being out and about at the clubs or whatever. I think Jay was like a huge, and also martial arts, when you train all the time, you're always listening to music. So a big part of it, like from the 90s on, was like, what music am I bumping when I need to work out? That's like, because I'm working out all the time, hours and hours a day. So Jay was definitely a big part of all that. And then I got to squeeze in like the last, like really like Wayne also. So Nas was like Nas for me was more about Illmatic. That was like the one album. And then Wayne, as like kind of the last person that I was really like a super fan of. Like,
he set the tone for like the young kids, the Uzi Verts, the Triple X Tentacion, like those guys with the tattoos on the faces, and more. He ushered in that youthful, finding Nicki Minaj and Drake, and so I get that for Wayne.
So that's pretty much it. There's so many, and there's so many genres. You know what I mean? Obviously, like what you guys were doing. I remember being out, like just out. That was like a big part of like my youth. I say youth. All through my like 20s and 30s. But what you guys were doing really resonated with me too, because it was fun. It was a movement, and with you and App, for me, that held a special place because I was like, they're doing it, and they're doing it on the biggest level. So I had a lot of pride for what you guys were doing. I really fucked with you guys.
And just interjecting on what Ernie's saying is like, Apple being from Philippines, Pampanga, coming to the US, meeting will.i.am, and then me being a Native American Mexican kid from East LA, Rosemead is where I was living when I met Will and Apple, and we became best friends. But Apple's story about the Philippines was always something that we had held at a high regard of like, we represent for Filipinos, because Apple is the reason why we became Black Eyed Peas.
Wow.
So Apple's connection to the Filipino, demographic and backyard parties, armory, Masonic temples, where we used to battle at the club arena and all these joints that we were battling at. But Apple was always at the epicenter of like, one day we're going to go back to the PI because Apple wants to go back home. So seeing you on the big screen, like, that kid is freaking, not only is he amazing as a martial artist, but just his charisma, seeing you in Last Dragon and, all the things that you were able to accomplish. So I've always had a beautiful connection to you as a friend too, but also like just a fan. And I think that's why it's important to give you your flowers on podcasts like this, because you got to know what you mean to us. Not on the music side, per se, like on the everything side. You are superstar, inspiration to the Filipinos, inspiration to martial artists, inspiration to the youth. And like you just set the tone for what it's like to be ultimate excellence. So I'm gonna continue this.
Okay. Oh, damn. This is crazy. This is crazy.
What do you think of when you see that?
Well, first of all, what is it?
It's the
Turn it around
official.
so we can see it.
It's The Undertaker.
Undertaker.
An old school WWF before WWE.
Yep.
Did you watch wrestling as a kid? Did you ever go to any events? Did you ever train any of them?
You know what? It's a trip. I mean, it's weird with my childhood. Really, I was and my father, was my teacher. So it was very military in terms of like the level of training that we did. It was all day long, every day, and there was no time for anything.
Yeah.
Like, period. Like, no time for anything.
What age was this? Like
This was like from like 7 or whatever to like all the way up. Like, hip hop was the only thing that I was like able to like squeeze in, and it was like not even fully. I could never really get fully immersed in the things that were like, oh, I wanted to DJ or I wanted to do this or I wanted to dance, but there was never enough time to submerge myself the way that I would need to in order to get to the level that because I had already achieved like a black, but I knew what excellence was in a one thing. And so I had all these interests about other things, but there just wasn't any time. And that was the sacrifice that I had to make in order to do what it is that I did. But yeah, I mean, Eric Bischoff, right? He was part of the WWE.
He was later on after the WCW disband, he did participate in WWE. Yeah.
Yeah. So that he was part of the martial arts, the martial arts tournament circuit that I grew up in. So we used to travel across the country every weekend. My father, myself, and we had a demonstration team called the West Coast Demo Team. And we would travel to martial arts tournaments every single weekend and compete. And then at the nighttime final, so what would happen is during the day you would compete. If you win your first place in your division, you would come back at nighttime for the grand championships. And at the grand championships, they would also have entertainment, and we were the live entertainment.
Oh, that's dope. So you were doing
demos basically. And before we got onto the scene, like this was probably like in the late 70s, martial arts demonstrations were very like sterile. They were everyone would be quiet. It's all traditional. Like it was that kind of thing. And in the late 70s, we came out like wearing satin uniforms and doing skits, all choreographed to music. Like that was like a groundbreaking thing. And then we started doing like martial arts forms, which is kind of like a gymnastics floor exercise, with martial arts, depending on what styles you are, taekwondo, karate, or whatever, kung fu, you would do a form. And we were one of the first people that were introducing musical forms where we would choreograph all our forms to music.
That's dope.
And so we used to travel every single weekend, competing in the tournaments and also being the live entertainment for the nighttime finals.
What was your discipline?
I started in Taekwondo.
Okay.
But my dad, my dad was the first generation, I'd say, post Bruce Lee. And so at that point, Bruce Lee had already introduced this idea of, having no style, basically, and finding what's useful in martial arts.
Right.
So my dad trained me pretty much right from the beginning to be a well-rounded martial artist. So Taekwondo is predominantly kicking.
That's a Korean art form.
That's a Korean art form. But we were into boxing.
Yeah.
So it's like Taekwondo and boxing was like the real first thing. And it was at the time period when all the great boxing was happening, like Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler and Hearns and all the people. And then, we continued to evolve in different martial arts styles. I did a lot of Chinese martial arts like wushu when I was a kid, very acrobatic, circular type motions or whatever, and Filipino martial arts.
Eskrima? Stick?
Yeah, I started in arnis and eskrima. This was like when I was a kid. But more recently, I'd say over the last 10 years, almost 10 years. I've been studying Kali, Sayak Kali to be exact. And it's, a weapons-based martial arts. So most of the martial arts like karate and taekwondo, as you know, are all kind of empty hand martial arts.
Can we give a shout out to one of the dopest Filipinos, Danny Nasanto?
Yes, definitely.
The OG, because I know that I talked about it on the Bruce Lee documentary, but along with yourself, I just always want to pay homage to those that, Kababayan that have set the tone, bro.
For
like
sure,
Danny
100%.
Nasanto.
Yeah,
Yes.
Guru Dan is, I've known him since I was about 8 years old. We've traveled together in Australia and different places doing, when I was a kid, we would travel doing like martial arts seminars with groups of masters, and Guru Dan was always one of the people that were there. And when I first moved from San Jose down to Los Angeles, my dad and I went to train at his school in was Marina Del Rey or Culver City. I can't really remember exactly where it was, but yeah, he's like the OG.
Shout out to his daughter, Diane, too.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
Great family.
Yep.
But Eric Bischoff was part of that, martial arts circuit that I grew up in.
Was he host? What was he doing? He was like
He was like one of the promoters of some of the tournaments and that kind of thing. It was like Chuck Norris and these different people. Like it was kind of the Chuck Norris kind of was a big part of that kind of sport, karate, martial arts tournament circuit that I grew up in.
Yeah.
And then the WWF, one episode of Sidekicks we did was Ricky Steamboat.
Oh, the Dragon.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Dragon, bro. That's a classic. That was one of my favorites, actually.
Yeah. So he was a guest star on one of the shows. So yeah, WWF was pretty amazing. And live shows, when we did the live shows, like I grew up doing fight scenes in front of live audiences prior to movies and television shows. And that's much harder than it is doing a TV show or movie, because there's no cut, there's no try again, there's no, hey, that's a miss on that kick or whatever. You have the audience there, and everything that you do has to be choreographed so that it's a hit for an audience member, and it's live, and you get that immediate feedback, and so, yeah, the WWF, they're doing live performances basically. Yeah. Right. And it's much different than making a movie. So
yeah, because there's no cut. It's just straight.
It's happening right now. And there's most of the time there's some sort of something that happens that doesn't go exactly, and on the fly you have to try to figure out like, all right, you got to keep it going. Like there's no cut here. So yeah, WWF, those guys, I give a lot of respect to them.
Me too.
That
man.
was The Undertaker there?
Huh?
That's The Undertaker?
Yeah, Undertaker.
The first thing I think about with him though is the music.
Oh yeah.
The music. And then the
Jim
Paul Bearer.
Johnston is the music supervisor at WWF.
Yeah.
Well, he used to be, but WWE. Shout out to him, because he's like a guru with all the, whether it's Hulk Hogan, The Rock. Those are classic. The only one that really had control of his own music was John Cena, because he wrote that song and recorded that song.
Okay.
I got one more for you.
Okay.
So we talked about hip hop. We talked about the demos at the different gatherings and events, martial art events. Now I'm going to dive into your professional life.
Okay. Oh, damn.
Donatello.
There it is. Yeah, Donatello. Yeah, it's wild. So Donatello. So my first brush with Hollywood prior to actually pursuing it was on the original Karate Kid. The stunt coordinator, his name was Pat Johnson, and he used to be one of the judges that would judge me in my martial arts competitions or whatever. And he called my dad and I and said, hey, listen, we want you to come down. We're shooting the Karate Kid. And so this is right before the final match. I was just explaining, you would win your division, then you would come back for the grand championships. Well, in the movie, they were going to have martial arts demonstration that was going to happen before the final fight, and we were going to be the ones doing the demonstration. I was probably like 10. Maybe it was probably about 2 or 3 years before I actually got into films and television. And we were still competing. Like our headspace wasn't really into pursuing that because we were deep into competition at that point. So we go down to the set and we're sitting there, and it's the last day of filming, basically. So we're there, and I'm seeing that we're on the set of the Karate Kids like finale.
Where is this at? Where are they
this is
filming
somewhere
the
in the valley.
Somewhere in the valley.
Silmar?
Yeah, something like that, you know? And so we're sitting there. I'm in my karate uniform, you know, waiting, just patiently waiting for my turn or whatever. And the whole day goes by, and finally Pat Johnson comes up to us and says, you know, we just don't have enough time. We're not going to get around to it or whatever. And so that was like my first brush.
Did you guys get paid?
No, didn't get paid, didn't nothing. We just kind of sat around. We didn't even know that you could get paid for anything like that. We were just like, this is crazy. This is like we're at a movie set.
Did you get to meet Ralph
No,
Macchio?
it was just,
or any
we
of the
just
cast?
were off to
Pat
the
Morita?
side the whole time, just standing there waiting, like all day. I was just standing in my karate uniform, ready to like go out there and do my thing, you know? So they said, no, we're not going to have time. So we went back to our normal lives up in San Jose and just went back to doing our thing. Anyways, so Pat Johnson was the stunt coordinator on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Golden Harvest was the production company that, you know, I grew up watching Golden Harvest movies. Those were all the Bruce Lee, Jet Li, Jackie Chan movies. I remember the logo coming up before the movies and getting all hyped up. And so Golden Harvest brought 4 Hong Kong stunt guys for the first time to come work on an American production. And at that time in the late 80s, like Hong Kong, when it came to martial arts movies, Hong Kong was like the bar was set way higher. Jackie Chan, Jet Li, what they were doing was in comparison to like the martial arts movie that America was producing, like the action was just on a different level. And so one of the guys broke his back from Hong Kong, in pre-production, in rehearsals. So Pat Johnson calls me up and says, hey, you know, this is not an acting job. Because at that point I had already acted in my own TV series and acted in movies. And he said, this is not an acting job. This is just a stunt job. You know, do you want to do it? And I was like, Golden Harvest? Yeah. Heck yeah. Right? I'm like, for sure I'm doing that. Like, and so, yeah, right then and there, I flew out. The first thing that I did when I signed on to the movie was fly out to London to Jim Henson's Creature Shop.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah. And
so you geeked out with Jim.
Yeah. And then when I walked through the doors of that and then I was at the Creature Shop, I knew that I was part of something special.
Yeah.
Tell the people at home who Jim Henson is.
Yeah, Jim Henson is the creator of the Muppets, Sesame Street. I mean, and he does Dark Crystal and like amazing work, you know? And so I was at his Creature Shop and you're seeing all the different creatures that they've created and all the Muppets and the puppets. And it was like, whoa, this is going to be crazy. But yeah, we filmed in North Carolina. It was like the middle of summer.
Sweaty ass foam.
Yeah, 100 degrees. Like you're sweating all day. Fight scenes. Like we were on a B unit. So what they do is like, as soon as we get into a scene is about to get into a fight scene, the A unit will cut and then they'll go on to another scene and then the B unit will film all the action. And so we were on a B unit. So we were filming action fight scenes like all day long, every day, 12, 14, 16 hours a day. It was crazy, like crazy work. But, you know, it's pretty amazing, you know, traveling to, you know, Comic-Cons and you know, fan expos and things like that. You know, it's pretty amazing that it's become like multi-generational. So the kids that grew up on these movies now have kids and they're hipping them to the OG movies and like pretty wild.
It's dope because you went from being part of the B action team to being Keanu, the delivery man on the Ooze movie, right?
Yeah. So the guys from Golden Harvest, you know, all the other 3 Hong Kong stunt guys, none of them could even speak English, right? And so I was like a Cali kid, like, and it was in between my junior and senior year of high school or whatever.
Damn, you're part of Ninja Turtles in junior? Wow, that's classic.
So
they got to know high school. Just I'm
like, yo, I'm part of Ninja Turtles. I'm Donatello, bitch.
What? What are you doing with your life?
Oh, and plus he had already had TV shows and Last Dragon and Red Sonja.
Did you go to high school in the Bay or down here?
Right in Hollywood. Yeah, I went to a small little private school called Excelsior.
Okay.
And,
that's like Stan Lee, Excelsior.
yeah.
He always said that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that was a little high school. It was like really tiny high school. I mean, it was just all basically actors and actresses and models.
So you didn't stand out too much because they were all doing
everybody was like somebody famous or
That's dope.
children of somebody famous.
Who did you go to
something
school
like
with? Any notable names since we're on the topic?
that. Yeah, just like let's see. My classmates, well, like Mila Jovovich was there, Alyssa Milano, Christina Applegate, Balthazar Getty, Corin Nemec, Justin Warfield, like just
Wow.
yeah, pretty eclectic crew, but like, and half of them are never there because they're off on set working
Filming
or
a
whatever,
movie,
and
yeah.
everyone's just popping in and out. But yeah, so they got to know me and they knew that I was just like a Cali kid and I could speak English and I could hang with the Hong Kong stunt guys. So they, the executive producer from Golden Harvest, came up to me on the last day of filming the original movie and said, "Hey, we're going to write you into the sequel." They already knew that they had a success on their hand. So they already knew that they were going to do another one. And so he said, "We're going to write you in." And he asked me if I had any nicknames. And I said, "Well, everybody on my mom's side of my family calls me Kono."
Oh, Kono.
Yeah.
That's what it was, not Kino.
No,
Kono.
it was Kono. And then so 3 months later, when I got the script, it said, "Consider the role of Kino." Yeah.
So they just took they flipped it. Huh?
They flipped it. Yeah. So, but that's how it happened. And that's, that was kind of my goal going into it. Not that I wouldn't have done it as a stunt band, but my dad always taught me like, hey, one thing leads to the next thing.
Facts.
And so go in there, do your best. You're in front of the Golden Harvest people. Like that's the best place you could possibly be in terms of trying to be a martial arts, action star. And so, yeah, The Secret of the Ooze, they wrote in that character for me. And that took it to the next level.
That was what led you to be able to do Comic-Con because you had done the Donatello joint and then...
Yeah, and then Secret Kino, The Secret of the Ooze.
And then you had the Disney stuff too, right?
Yeah, so the Disney stuff happened beforehand. So The Last Dragon was my first film. Last Dragon was a Barry Gordy Motown production.
Loved it.
And the first,
Converse.
the first,
and you could see it too because you got the bars doing
Oh,
the music,
man. Vanity?
yeah, Vanity 6 in there.
Bro, you probably were like,
oh, I was like, I had the posters up in my garage.
we were talking about that. So we all did.
Yeah. So I was like, when I first met her or whatever, I had my posters ready. I was like, as soon as I met her, I was like, hey, do you think you could autograph these for me?
Did she sign them?
She signed them. Yeah.
That's the time that her and Prince were rocking, right? Right before, was that around Purple Rain?
Yeah. It was prior to Purple Rain.
Right, yeah.
Well, I read somewhere that she didn't want to do Purple Rain. That's when she left and signed a separate contract somewhere else.
Yeah, because she did Vanity 6
Vanity
and then
6.
Apollonia 6 came for Purple Rain.
Yeah. So Motown, that was the first contract that I ever really signed in Hollywood was, as an artist at Motown. And they...
Wait, you were signed to Motown?
Yeah, I was signed to Motown as an artist because they were trying to, at that time period, break into films and television.
So it was like a 360 deal.
Yeah, it was just like, hey, we're just gonna try to build you. And I was just a kid from San Jose, and The Last Dragon was my first movie. So after The Last Dragon, they developed the TV series for me, The Last Electric Night, which eventually became Sidekicks. But at that time, mid 80s, Motown wasn't going to get a network television deal with any major network. They weren't known as, a film or television production company. They were known as a music label. And Hollywood, in all fairness, was, there was no conversation about diversity or inclusivity at that time at all. So they definitely weren't going to get a network television deal. And so Motown teamed up with Disney, and that's how we ended up on ABC with the television series Sidekicks. But that was a Motown Disney co-production.
Right.
And so Motown was a huge part of like really, getting my career off the ground. But yeah, as far as Comic-Cons are concerned, Ninja Turtles is kind of like the real main push. But what happened was opening weekend of Ninja Turtles 2, I was on the front cover of the calendar section in the LA Times, and it opened to like $25 million the opening weekend. And New Line, which was the distribution company, called my agent up and we're like, hey, we want to do movies with Ernie. And that's how Surf Ninjas came about. And so when I go to Comic-Cons, it's definitely heavy Ninja Turtles, but you'd be surprised how many people are like, dude, Surf Ninjas is like one of my favorite
And then you made
movies.
your Motown debut in Surf Ninjas with your singing abilities.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Ba, ba, ba.
Yeah, that was dope, dude.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's pretty cool to see these things, 35, 40 years later at the conventions that it's how much it's really, you don't really know, like you're doing your thing, you do it, and then time goes on. You don't really know how it impacts people until you meet them one-on-one and they share their story with you. Like, you're normally talking about all the stuff that you're doing. Then you sit down and you have a line of people and every person that comes up to you tells you how much you've positively impacted their life with the movies that you've done. And that's really the most special part about, doing the shows.
Speaking about movies, top 5 favorite martial arts films.
Gosh, you know what?
He's probably a part of all of them.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just like, really, for me, Bruce Lee was just the one.
Always.
And I just couldn't really get past past him. Even like, I love Jackie Chan and Jet Li. I love everybody that's come, Yun Biao, all the guys. But I was such a hardcore Bruce Lee fan. It felt like if I said that I liked anybody else, I would be like,
it's like MJ, right? Like
yeah,
Michael Jordan,
I was just
right?
like, nah, bro, it's Bruce Lee. That's it.
1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah, that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Bruce Lee. I mean, Game of Death.
Yeah.
Gudan again. Like, that was amazing.
Kareem?
Yeah, Kareem.
Kareem?
Crazy. Yeah.
That was that's a classic.
Yeah, Bruce Lee.
Scene.
All of them, Chinese Connection, Big Boss, all of that stuff. So I could never really, he set the blueprint for what I wanted my life to be.
Agreed, 100%.
So that was it. And I figured that out when I was like 7 or 8 years old and just never looked back. I was like, I want to do that. That's what I want to do.
What year did Bruce pass away?
I think
was there ever because obviously he's got the Bay Area connection.
Yeah, no, I think it was like 71.
Yes,
I believe.
Okay, so that's probably the year you were born, right?
I was 72, but I never got to meet him personally.
Your dad?
No, we were just like right on the tail end. But his daughters, Shannon and Brandon, they're.
You met Brandon?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I went to.
What was that interaction like with Brandon?
I actually went over to their house. I think I was like probably somewhere around 10 years old. And I went over to their house and the kids they're younger than me by like a few years. Shannon must have been, I don't know, 6 years old or something like that. And he was probably 8 years old. They were there and part of like representing his legacy, even in the early 80s, like 1980. That was kind of when I really became popular in the martial arts, circuit, doing demonstrations and competing. So they saw a lot of my demonstrations when I was a kid, just at kickboxing events, at martial arts tournaments. And so, I have a lot of respect for them. But Bruce Lee was really my only guy. And he always just set the bar for me.
Was Brandon doing martial arts at the time?
I'm not sure. When I was a kid, he was probably, I'm sure that, I've seen pictures with him and his dad kicking around, right when, I don't know, you must have been about 4 or 5 years old. So
I want to say I saw you there, but did you ever go to Gerald's Dragon Fest? There's a martial arts gathering.
No, but I know the promoter. He has a martial arts museum that used to be in Burbank and now is in Glendale. No, I haven't. I've been there. Yeah, I have done that. I went there too. Yeah. I did
Gerald
do that one year.
Gabe Frimmel.
Yeah. Gerald, I love Gerald.
Gerald's amazing. Shout out to Big Trouble in Little China. You know Gerald?
Big Trouble in Little China was a great film.
Classic.
Yeah, with Kurt Russell and real quick, I just want to jump onto because I think it's interesting that you met the family so young. So Brandon passed away on the film. What age was that when he was doing The Crow?
Forgot, but he was young.
Yeah, he was young.
That was probably like early 90s too?
Early to mid 90s, somewhere in around there, yeah.
Yeah. And by then, had you guys crossed paths, maybe doing films together?
No. Like when I originally saw them, they were just like little kids. And I was a little kid still too, but I was a little bit older than they were. And then I didn't reconnect with them. I never really reconnected with Brandon at all. I have with Shannon, just with a lot of the work that she's doing, with her dad and her foundation. And, I always try to support her and what she's doing the best I can.
Yeah, shout out to Shannon. So I've mentioned The Last Dragon on several occasions. I know that that a lot of people may not be aware of the cultural impact that The Last Dragon had, not only in hip hop culture, but also martial arts. When I first saw the movie, I went to the movie theater to watch it because I was a big, huge Kung Fu theater fan. Bruce Lee, of course. And of course, seeing Vanity on there. But also like Rhythm of the Night by DeBarge.
Heck yeah.
I mean, seeing kids pop into it. And, as a B-boy, for me, that really, anytime I saw us, hip-hop kids represented in the video on the screen, it always let me know that it's attainable.
Yes.
What was that kid that was popping? The brother, what was his name?
Yeah. Gosh, I can't believe it's slipping my name right now.
He was Bruce Leroy's little brother, but he was a popper too. And in the movie, he's popping.
To break loose.
Yeah, exactly, dude, to break loose from the ropes. But seeing that and then seeing B-boys in that last scene and in the club, for me, it always let me know that it was attainable.
Yes.
Because I had put in those hours practicing over 10,000 hours to master my style as a B-boy, as a freestyle dancer. Let's talk about what it was like on set for you as a young kid. First of all, seeing Vanity with your posters. Give me that. I needed to hear more of that.
Okay.
And then, but just being part of this amazing movie that was going to become a cult film.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, Last Dragon, obviously, like every MC has seen that movie. I guarantee, from Biggie to Pac to, how many times has Last Dragon been like in a bar? You know what I mean? It's just everywhere. But so what happened is they were 3 weeks away from finishing up the film, and they hadn't come to the climactic action sequence yet. And so they were looking to kind of bump up the action. And we had some popularity inside of the martial arts, community as the West Coast demo team. And so we had an opportunity through my manager at the time and Suzanne DePass, who was an OG executive at Motown, to come down, and they flew us out to New York. So we went to New York. We went straight to the set of Seventh Heaven. I was 12 at the time. I'm like, it must be about midnight at this point. I'm asleep in the backstage or whatever. And my dad wakes me up and he's like, hey, it's time to perform. Right. Barry Gordy's here or whatever. So, and like I said, we were already like doing our thing and choreographed to music. I was already like popping and everything. So this was all part of our choreography. All the fights that you see me do in The Last Dragon were part of our demonstrations that we had been doing for like 5 years previous. So we were like dialed down. And so we went there and pressed play on the boombox. I got on the stage. All the guys surrounded me. We did our demonstration. I did a fight scene. And then right there on the spot, Barry Gordy told my dad, we're going to write him into the movie. And that's how it happened. And he told my dad, I was actually right there, standing there, and he looked over to my dad and he says, I'm the one who discovered Michael Jackson, and I know talent when I see it. Your kid's got talent. He said, I'm writing him into the movie.
That's amazing.
And I was like,
that's classic, bro. You're like,
crazy.
Mic drop.
I was just like, crazy feeling. So it was amazing. But so I got to dance. It was all the stuff that I was like, I was really wanting to be more of a B-boy and more of a dancer, but I just never had time. So I had enough time to do my little thing or whatever, incorporate it into it, but not enough time to like really be part of it all the time, every day. Right. But so this was an opportunity where I got to do it. And I grew up on Motown. Obviously that was playing in our house all the time. And so, it was a pretty amazing thing. The New York City Breakers were there.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? These were like,
this classic, was like,
bro. And that's why I feel like I really feel honored to be part of that production, because I know how much of a landmark it is in hip hop culture.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? And so I've always been on the kind of the periphery of hip hop, but I feel like being part of that movie is like, I'm part of the culture.
Yeah, you are.
Just from that movie
cemented.
alone. Yeah.
And you're a Filipino kid from San Jose that is rocking in such an iconic film, and then seeing your growth, stomping with, what was the guy's name? Shonuff, but what was the actor's name?
Julius Caesar.
That guy was amazing, by the way.
Yeah. So good.
Oh, really?
Such a great villain.
So great.
He played it perfectly.
Perfect. Yeah, man.
Perfect.
And then seeing the matriarch of the movie, Vanity.
Yeah, that was
like?
amazing. So I was already a huge Vanity fan, like going into the thing.
Yeah.
I was like 12 years old or whatever. I had my posters up in the garage or whatever, next to the bag. I'd be punching the bag, looking at Vanity. Come on, man, you got to train hard. So yeah, when I saw her, I took the posters from me. I took them down from my garage. I rolled them up, had them with me. And then now we were working on the movie. So it was like the first day. So that was like late at night. The next day we come in, and now we're on set and like part of the cast basically. And so I brought out my posters and rolled them up, and she was like, "Oh my God, nice to meet you."
That's
I was like,
dope.
"Please sign these right now."
You still have them, I assume.
Yeah, I don't know. They're probably somewhere in storage, but yeah, that was a highlight. I was like, man, I was in love with her.
Yeah, I mean, we're teenagers, bro. Like,
I mean, it's
All us little boys were in love with her.
yeah.
And then that Last Dragon, then you get Sidekicks.
Yes.
Then you go into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
And then you get to work later on down the line with one of my favorite actors / wrestlers. This guy is probably the most iconic action star in the last 20 years. Set the tone for, I'm starting off as a WWE wrestler, and now I'm going to become a mega freaking brand on his own. Entrepreneur, superstar. Talk about Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, amazing.
Talk about that.
Yeah, that's an amazing experience for me, and continued to fuel me, so there was a long time period after I did Surf Ninjas. There was about, I think it was 15 years. Yeah, it was about 12 to 15 years in between Surf Ninjas and the Rundown, where I wasn't doing anything. I'd done a couple small little movies here and there, but nothing like of real impact. And that was a very challenging time period because that's a long time to be sitting around waiting for your next movie or your next shot again.
Was that your choice, or was that just
No, that was definitely not my choice. I was ready. I was like, at that point I was just in Hollywood basically and just waiting around. 95 to it was about 10 years or so.
Were you taking auditions at that time?
No auditions. Well, I had bad representation, but at the same time, there was just not a lot of stuff for me that I was right for.
Okay.
That's kind of what I was getting, And I looked hella young, way younger than I actually was. And I was known as like a martial arts guy. So there weren't like any kind of leading action roles. I couldn't really play bad guys at that point.
And I felt like you had moments where you showcased that you could be in Hollywood, right? With Ninja Turtles, even in the second one.
Yeah, I know,
showcased that you could be an actor.
Yeah. And I had some things like I auditioned for, the one that I really wanted I auditioned for Kato for the Green Hornet.
Right. Was that with Seth Rogen?
Okay.
Yeah, well, that was with Seth Rogen.
Seth Rogen.
And they were like, the feedback was, I'm not sure if he has matinee idol appeal.
What does that mean?
Exactly.
Matinee idol appeal?
Yeah.
I went on matinee. That's an early film.
Yeah, meaning like, I don't know, like matinee idol appeal. That was the thing. They ended up going with a pop star from, I believe, Korea or something. But there were like few things like that I was like, oh, that was like really the only one that even stands out in my memory. I worked on Rush Hour 2.
Okay, well, so the rumor has it, Tab, that he was going to beat up Jackie Chan in Rush Hour 2.
Wow.
So I got a call from my agent and said, hey, the director wants, they're filming Rush Hour 2. Yes, they're filming Rush Hour 2. And the director wants you in the movie, and you're going to get a fight scene. And, so I was like, this was during that time period where I've been sitting still for, at that point, it was like 8 years, It was a few years before the Rundown. So I was like, oh, this is it. This is what I've been, because the one thing that I kept doing all through that time period was training. So I just never gave up on the idea that I'm going to get my shot again. I just got to be ready, and I'm going to go from being a teenage kid to an adult, and I'm going to reintroduce myself. Mm-hmm. And so I kept training. I'm training 3 times a day, every day for like years with no auditions. Got the Cato audition. That like didn't really work out. So I'm sitting around and I get that call. I was like, hell yeah, this is going to be awesome. Anyways, it kept getting pushed back. Oh, it's not going to be this. Oh, we got to go to Hong Kong. We got to do this. We got to do that. It kept getting pushed back.
That's right, because in Rush Hour 2, they go to Hong Kong.
Yeah. Right. And so like all these different things. Oh, we're in Vegas now. We're going to go here. We're going to get to your scene, whatever. And then finally, I'm like in the movie theater, like having a popcorn and soda, and I'm like seeing the trailer for Rush Hour 2, and I'm like, dude, they're still telling me I'm in the movie. Like, this is crazy. Yeah. So finally, they came. It was like last day of filming, I thought it was, but I kind of knew at that point that we hadn't rehearsed, we hadn't done anything, so there probably wasn't going to be any fight scene. Yeah, and so I have this little scene where Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan come in, this big, skyscraper, and I'm kind of working the front desk at the lobby, and they say, we're looking for a guy named Zing. And I'm like, and I take off running. They chase me down the hallway, and then I lead them into the alleyway where there's like 30 Triad members, and the girl's standing there, and I kind of lead them into a trap. So, yeah, so, by the time the rundown came by, so Andy Chang, who was the second unit director and stunt coordinator on the rundown, was a stunt double for Jackie Chan and part of the Jackie Chan stunt team. And so we used to train over at Valley College every Tuesday and Friday night during probably the late 90s, in and around there to the early 2000s. And so I'd seen Andy around or whatever. And my friend Arnold, they were filming the movie. And as a stunt guy, they back in the day, they don't do it as much. They used to call it like hustling. You just go down to the set and kind of like hang out and introduce yourself and see if, they might be able to use you. So Arnold was like, hey, they're rehearsing down at this warehouse for the rundown. Let's go like try to hustle over there. And I was like, hell yeah, let's get it. So we went on down there, and Andy was there, and so they were like, hey, we're looking for one of the guys to play the leader of this Kontiki tribe or whatever. And Andy was suggesting to the director that I, play that part or whatever. So finally I got to they said, okay, well, let's, show us what you can do or whatever. So I was there and hit some pads, and The Rock's cousin Tanawai was there and held
the
some
stunt coordinator, huh? His stunt double.
Yeah. And, held some pads for me. And I was lucky enough to get chosen to be the leader of the Kontiki tribe. And, that movie is, that's a very special movie to me, because it was like I went from being a kid to a teenager, and then now I'm reintroducing myself as an adult,
Bro, this man was looking like a straight action figure. Yeah. Cut, shredded, just looking freaking on
looked
top
like God
of his
took
game.
A chisel to
he
him.
looked like. And for us as we get older, sometimes we do lose, the discipline. So I commend you for putting in the work, bro, to get back into the film world, and look 110,000%, in great shape.
Yeah, and that was driving me, right? That's like being ripped. That's like called not working on a movie for 10 years. I'm starving, motherfucker.
Dude, he said not working for 10 years.
You know what I mean? That'll get you shredded real quick.
Right. It's true.
I got a job, I'm in.
Yeah. So, no, but I mean, it fueled me. Like I was saying earlier about a lot of the roadblocks, that you face, sometimes it turns into anger, sometimes it turns into whatever. But it's also the thing that fuels you to, like, if you're going to keep fighting, you're going to keep fighting.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? And that was that time period. I was like, no, I'm not letting the story's not over here. You know what I'm saying? And it was an awesome opportunity. Big shout out to Peter Berg and The Rock and Andy Chang and all the stunt guys that were there with me in that scene. It's
what's Stifler's name?
Sean William Scott.
It's funny to see The Rock in a comedic actor like Sean doing something together. And it was dope.
Was he like Dudes, Where My Car and all that?
Yeah,
Right?
well, and Stifler, like American Pie, which is funny as hell. But it's dope to see that you stomped with The Rock, bro. Before The Rock actually ascended to where he's at now. You know,
well, that was part of what was so amazing about it. You know, that was early in his career in terms of like building into an action star or whatever. And so to see him continue on from that point, you know, and do what he did and is still doing is like been an inspiration to me because I was there. I was right there, in the beginning. And
when he had hair.
Yeah.
When he had hair.
And he built himself into what he's built himself into now. And that's, you know, given me inspiration, even to this day, to keep striving for, you know what I mean?
Did you guys have a cool moment on behind the scenes with you and DJ?
Yeah, I mean, you know, he was great to work with. I mean, we got to spend a little bit of time, you know what I mean, just working. You know, we shot in Hawaii, which was super cool. No, him and his cousin Tanawai, they're great people. You know, very down to earth. You know, it's not very often that you get an opportunity to show out like that with the person that's the star of the movie, especially like a smaller guy or whatever. Big credit, I think, to Peter Berg to making that scene happen. So it's an honor to know that I was able to do that, because you don't get to do that. You know, you don't get to just have a fight scene where you get to like showcase yourself in that fashion, you know, against the person who's like they're building as, you know, the next action star. So I was super appreciative of it, and it has continued to fuel me to, you know, just never let up, basically never give up. I'm still striving, you know, for me, the story isn't over. As much as I love to look back on the past and remember all those great moments, for me, it's about the best is yet to come still. You know, I have to have that mindset in order for me to keep pushing the way I need to.
I kind of feel like that with, you know, this next chapter of my life too. I think that's why it was important for me to do this podcast. And I'm speaking to the audience and saying, like, you know, you come across people that you are inspired by and you are motivated by, you know, and yourself being a hero in my life, you know, as a friend. And, you know, just seeing you on Instagram, seeing you in film and television and knowing you, it's just a blessing to have you as a friend and continue having this friendship. One of the things that I love about this podcast is we also highlight the inner child and the inner kid. Who are your superheroes growing up? Who are your favorite superheroes growing up?
Superheroes, like
it could be a superhero, literally, figuratively speaking, or it could be a metaphor for like your dad, or for me, it was my grandma.
Right.
My grandma was my freaking, you know, superwoman and, you know, all those Marvel and DC characters, because I grew up with her as the matriarch of my tribe. She taught me about my connection with my indigenous roots, how to advocate for myself, and how to be an owner of my own story. So who are your superheroes?
I mean, for me, growing up, the people that really fired me all the way up was Bruce Lee, Muhammad Ali, Martin Luther King.
Yep.
Those were like the three people that were really the ones that I was like, and then later on, like Spud Webb, I was a huge fan of Spud Webb. Like, he was the man.
Atlanta
you know?
Hawk, 5'4".
You know what I mean?
Running the NBA.
Wait a minute, ladies and gentlemen.
Is it because he was the underdog?
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, he was short, you know, small, and doing it. I mean, that dunk contest,
Yes,
forget
dude.
it. Come
He beat
on.
Dominique Wilkins.
Yeah, I mean-
in Atlanta, right? Was it in Atlanta?
Yeah, 360
I believe it
dunk
was
off
in
the
Atlanta,
bounce.
Oh man,
You
that
don't
was
realize
when
he's
that's when-
5'4".
Yes, that's when
crazy.
MJ broke his foot and he couldn't be in the dunk contest.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Spud Webb was the underdog, like
Yeah.
little miniature dude.
Yeah.
Was dunking all over the place.
Yeah,
So I'm glad
crazy.
you said that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
dope.
Those are the people that like will make me wake up feeling some kind of way. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's how it was since I was a kid. Like, oh, like hella driven, like fanatic, crazy, like, you know. And then like too, I'd say like even like the Rocky movies or whatever, like I consider that like a superhero type thing.
Yeah.
I was that kid. I was like, yo, I'm eating the eggs. I'm waking up when it's dark outside.
Yeah.
I'm doing every single thing that I know no other kid is even thinking about doing. I'm going to do all the things that none of these kids are doing.
And then you led, I saw some stuff online that you also participated in some MMA stuff.
Yeah. I have had the opportunity to work with Nate Diaz.
Yeah, shout out to Nate.
Shout out to Nate, big time. And the whole NDA squad over there up in Stockton.
I saw a video of you and Nate, I think backstage somewhere, and you were pretty fired up, having a little confrontation with somebody.
Oh, yeah.
What was that about?
That was like the little, I think that was for the Jake Paul fight. Yeah.
Was that Jake?
Yeah, you gotta throw a little, you know.
Yeah,
you gotta get hype.
Yeah, you know.
Who was it,
Right?
Jake, that you guys were
Yeah.
kind of jawing back and forth a little bit?
Yeah.
Were you about to lay some hands, or you were just
I was
jawing?
about to do whatever I had to do. Yeah.
That's a little competitive spirit. I like it.
Yeah, you have to.
for
I
sure.
mean, that's what it is. I mean, the fight, you feel to understand that like fighters, you know, there are different types of fighters. There's athletes and there's sports people and then there's fighters. And like a fighter, like a real fighter is, they don't really switch that on and off. That's just who they are, you know? And Nate's a real fighter.
I agree.
You know, that's just who he is.
Shout out
through
to
and
Nate,
through.
bro.
Yeah, shout out to Nate, big time. But yeah, I've had the opportunity to do that. Been in huge, you know, UFC, you know, Madison Square Garden, sold out. I've made those walks with Nate, you know, in front of 70,000 people or whatever it is.
How did that connection happen? He just...
Yeah, I mean,
he's a fan, or
he's from, you know, Stockton. I'm from San Jose. The MMA community, you know, is, you know, pretty tight knit. I mean, California in terms of like, you know, combat sports has always been popping off. From the early kickboxing Strike Force, shout out to Scott Coker, Strike Force. That small community is like everybody goes to those events. So I bumped into Nate for the first time at a MMA event that I was actually promoting myself at the San Jose Civic Center. And he had one of the NDA squad fighting on the card. Shout out to Lucas. And that was the first time that we connected, and it was just kind of like, what's up? Oh shit. And then one time he was in Venice and he hit me up. He's like, yo, you want to link up? And I was like, hell yeah. So I drove down to Venice. We went to Whole Foods, and I was like, wow, you know, because there's a lot of parts that people they don't see. They just see whatever the persona is that everyone knows, you know. But I was like, they were there, and we went to Whole Foods, and Nate's eating super clean and drink green juices and everything like that. And I was like inspired. I was motivated like instantly. I was like, wow, this again, going back to what I was saying, you got to do whatever you got to do, everything and anything that it takes to be the best, you know? And so I had a tremendous respect for him. We started chopping it up. We started talking about fighting. He was like, hey, later on tonight, we're going down to Crone Gracie's gym down in Venice. You want to roll through? I was like, yeah, hell yeah. So I pulled up, we did some training. And then from then on, we were connected, and I got to work I think it's been about 5 or 6 fights of his.
That's dope. That's really dope, man. I love Nate. I love what he represents. I know we're getting close with time, so
yeah. I was just more curious too. Is there a film that you wish you could have been in that?
The one film that I wish that I could have done was Romeo Must Die.
Oh, Aaliyah?
Yeah.
And you talk about Barry Gordy, which
yeah,
is,
I was like
that's
Aaliyah.
your uncle.
I was like, that was my movie because I felt like, and I was kind of at that point in time, I was really pushing my whole pitches around Hollywood.
So you would have been Jet Li.
Would have been Jet Li's character.
Okay.
My whole thing at that time period was it's hip hop and martial arts. We haven't seen that, and that's like the perfect combination. But a lot of the action stars can't represent that culture properly. And I feel like that's part of like how that movie missed a little bit was, you know, there's supposed to be some sort of chemistry between Aaliyah's character and Jet Li's character. And I felt like
you felt like you would have had that chemistry with her?
I would have had that chemistry, you know what I'm saying?
Me too.
I think you would have done great with that, man.
That was the one movie that I feel like, damn, if I could have done one movie that I wish I could have done that I felt like I was perfect for. And at that time period, right, was Romeo Must Die.
I think I'm going to put this out to the universe. I think my brother Ernie should work with the RZA.
Ooh.
That would be tight.
The RZA's done some things in the movie world, scoring, just also on, in front of the camera, behind the scenes, because he gets it. He gets the science behind martial arts, hip hop, of course, because of Wu-Tang.
Did you train martial arts too?
You know what? I trained enough to get my ass kicked, bro.
Yeah.
I got good enough to get my ass kicked.
There it is. Hey,
you know what I mean?
Part of the process.
Part of
right?
the process. And I got so intrinsic into b-boying that I started incorporating in my form.
Yeah, I seen that.
To give the presence of like, I had a foundation, but I never continued training. I always, it's like me playing music and calling myself a DJ. I'm not a DJ. I like to play music.
Right.
And I love the art form. So I'll be disrespectful if I call myself a DJ. Same thing as martial arts. Like, I love martial arts. But as I got older, I was like, yo, I didn't continue the training. I stopped at a certain point, then I used it during my dancing, but I've always held it at a high regard. People always were like, oh, that's the Asian guy from the Black Eyed Peas. I'm like, no, I'm Native American. That's the Japanese guy from the Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah. Huh? Why do you think you're Asian?
I don't know.
Have you ever came out and said that?
Many times, bro. I mean, my whole page is about me being indigenous and being Native American.
I look at you and I don't see any Asians. So I'm just curious if maybe you said it in an interview.
Maybe when I had long hair and I used to do
the
all that like weird looking scary.
Yeah,
guy.
but but like one thing that Bruce Lee, one thing that Bruce Lee was said is that ultimately martial arts is about expressing oneself honestly. So, it's about motion, right? It's about movement. And, you can embody the spirit of, being a martial artist without having to get in there and fight.
It's true.
Because of the nostalgia of the show, I think it would do us a disservice if we didn't ask you your favorite, maybe 5 martial arts magazines.
Okay.
Magazines back in the 80s and 90s, that was a very popular place to...
Black belt.
Yeah, to get...
What else? Kung Fu, Inside Kung Fu.
Yeah, there was, let's see.
What were some of your favorites from back in the day?
Well, Black Belt magazine.
Did you ever appear in any of these?
I did, yeah. I was in 1980, I was on the cover of Black Belt magazine with my father in the West Coast demo team.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Super
classic,
so Black Belt magazine, Inside Kung Fu. There was Karate Illustrated. There was really only 3.
Yeah,
actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I started actually though a martial arts magazine for kids called Kono Magazine in 2004.
That's dope.
And my idea at the time was to do like a Thrasher magazine, where
Skaters.
it was like skating, but like more visual. Because all of those magazines ultimately were just a bunch of older guys
posing.
Right? Posing, and like there were some good articles, but it was like speaking to a whole different generation. So with Kono Magazine, we really tried to speak to the kids and usher in a whole new generation. Unfortunately, we started the magazine right at the time when print was
kinda
basically going out of style and everything was going digital. So
that's why I was kind of curious, because the nostalgia of this show is I remember being a kid and getting Black Belt magazine. I never studied any martial arts, but just as a fan of the craft, would just go through it. And there was it was
every
dope.
kid wanted to be a ninja too, bro.
Yeah,
We all grew up
ninja
on
stars
ninja
in there. I'm like, I need to get some ninja stars.
Yeah, you can order all those stuff.
exactly.
You can order
Yes,
magazine.
the Toby boots.
Yeah, all of that.
You can get nunchucks. You can get
bro.
ninja stars. I was trying to figure out a way to coerce my mom into buying me some ninja stars to throw at my brother.
That's what's up.
I want to say thank you to my brother Ernie for showing up and just like continuing to be an inspiration, not only to film, television, martial arts world, but also for Filipinos, man. Like, I'm married to a beautiful Filipino woman, Jamie. Shout out to my wife, and my kids are mixed. So there's a special place in my heart because my brother Apple the App from Black Eyed Peas taught me a lot about his culture. And it's kind of similar to my Mexicano side. It's very, we have quinceañeras, you guys have debuts, there's a lot of the food is similar. We have Spanish last names. But ultimately, it's just beautiful to see a hero like yourself continuing to shine, to illustrate that excellence and always be that grounded person. So on behalf of Taboo's Comics and Kicks, we say thank you. We love you, brother, and we appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Let's go. A round of applause for our guy, the legendary
Yes,
Ernie
sir.
Reyes Jr.
That's right, y'all. It's Taboo Noir Show. Comics and Kicks.